So right now we're talking about customers and how do customers value things. And what it pretty much comes down to is we want to know how sensitive our customers are to pricing and what types of things do they value. And so one technique of doing that is called part words, and that's that you set up a scale and you assign features a certain number of points. And you could say, well, gee, Dr. Cho, isn't that kind of arbitrary? And yeah, it is, but this is the value of part words. When you change things, you're measuring everything to the same scale. And by having a consistent scale, at least you can compare things apples to apples. And so here's an example for air conditioners, and that's that you decide that, well, the difference between based on my customers, and you can get this data from surveys or from interviews or other things. They're very, very sensitive to price. So the value of 3,000 is worth double than 2,000. So it's not necessarily linear. And so in doing this, you could see I can have different options of air conditioners. And so now I have a way to compare it because of these part worth utilities. Elasticity is a very, very important concept for customers. And that's that we want to know how sensitive they are to price changes. If I have high levels of elasticity, it means that the price changes a little bit, people are going to buy a lot. An example is grocery stores. There's a 20% sale. Guess what? People start hoarding up and buying a lot of something. Although I went to business school with someone who worked for ConAgra Foods, and he told me the con of that. He said, yeah, we dropped the price on some things. But you don't realize is we actually raised the price on other things, like, hot dogs and buns. He said, yeah, we screw with you all the time that way. Inelastic means that it doesn't matter what the situation is. You'll pay whatever you need to pay. For example, if the apocalypse is coming, the price of water, they could charge whatever they want. And so that's an inelastic situation. Now, what are the things that affect elasticity? Well, naturally, luxury items, people who are buying it tend to be price insensitive. And so you can charge more. And switching and sunk costs, what does that mean? Well, what that means is sunk cost is people tend, and you're not supposed to think this way, but people do, and that's that, well, gee, I have this much invested in it, so I should just keep throwing more money at it. And switching costs have to do with, oh, I'll pay the price just because I don't want to change to something different. Here are the elasticities of different types of products. Industrial products, you see a very, very wide range. Durables and non-durables, and airlines. And so you can see in advertising, you can see that it has a very very small change of quantity per price. That when you advertise, you just don't see those huge changes. And a lot of it is the problems with advertising. In general advertising, is it's not targeted, it's not personalized, and that's why you get better ROI with other techniques. So in terms of price segmentation, what are the things that impact price? What's the customer type, the cost of ownership, the use, is it going to be personal or business? Location has an impact on price, that the prices, like for example housing in Silicon Valley, are ridiculously high compared to anywhere else. And also, where are you in the market phase? So these are all concepts we've talked about in the past. How do I defend my price segments? And what you do is, first of all, you're pricing along lines of preferences, like ebooks versus paper. And what they found out is that before, ebooks used to be much cheaper than paper books, and they stopped doing that. And the reason why they stopped doing it is it's not about the format, it's about the content. And so they found out, hey, we can raise the price on people and they'll still pay. Price discrimination is that you're going to pay at certain levels, like early bird dinners. And finally, reference pricing is the line of where you set where you're willing to pay. This is why somebody like Netflix, what's the point of dropping the price down? So you can get more subscribers? Probably not, because people who want Netflix, if they're willing to pay $11 a month, paying $9 a month isn't going to be that big a difference. So what are some of the basic pricing strategies? It basically falls into three categories. Low pricing is penetration pricing. You just want people to go out and buy it. Neutral pricing is you're setting the price according to what the market seems fair. And premium or skim pricing is that you raise the price on something that people are going to willing, that they're unsensitive about. And that's why, like gourmet dog food, for example, the pricing is ridiculous, but if people love their dogs, they're willing to pay it. So this is what I call the pricing curve. And this is particularly applies to startups. And that's if you price too low, then you're a commodity. Nobody sees your product. If you're low priced, you can also be construed as having low quality. A little bit below your competitor's price, you're a discount product, and about the same as your competitor, you're on parity. Above it, you're premium, and then there's out-of-bound pricing, and this goes back to the $1,000 hamburger. Nobody's going to pay that much. And so, and I kind of raced through this, and I probably shouldn't have, is there are certain regions, your pricing affects your product, because it steers the conversation. When you're low priced like that, then they're going to talk about your features and everything else. Or if you want to charge a little bit more, they're going to balk at it. If you're around the parity of the price, then they're not going to be talking about pricing as much as your product. And naturally for premium pricing, you're going to talk about the experience and perception. The thing about startups is if your conversation is about price, you're probably going to get killed. Why? People want everything and they don't want to pay for it. Remember that one. And so summarizing the customer, you want to look at the qualitative value and what your competitors are charging. Again, look at the reference points that you're measuring yourself against. Do I have EV? And that's important. That earned value if I'm selling B2B, because they're going to be looking at that. Based on elasticity, where's my most feasible sales points? And then based on that, I can segment the market according who is it that I should go after and look at. And so, the next video, we will talk about competition and how that affects pricing.